Welcome back, guys, to my dungeon basement where it's cold and uncomfortable. But don't worry, I have my sweet shoes on.
I have just one question for you. What are those?
Shout out to Peyton there for getting a pair of those that I thought looked so cool that I just had to have some myself. They're real warm and comfortable. But here we go. We're going to talk about Suzy and Leah today. So let's get right to it.
Autobots, start your engines! Ready, Prime. Let's roll.
All right, that first question, I think I wrote it wrong a little bit because it says, how do you think you would have reacted if you had tried to help Leah? But there's a second part that if Leah had rejected you too, kind of like she did to Suzy. So this one, total opinion question for yourself. Maybe you'd feel bad if she did. Maybe you wouldn't care. I don't know. It's just you have to put yourself in that type of situation. So the answer is totally up to you. I had some good responses with the question. Some people were like, oh, I'd feel really bad, or I'd feel hurt, or, I wouldn't want to keep helping her or trying to help her if that's the way she was going to be. And, it's something to think about because, maybe you're acting like Leah is and you just don't know it. So if somebody's trying to help you, make sure you seem like you're appreciative of it, unless you aren't. So you also can't blame Leah, which we will get into later. Sorry, I had to change my battery out there on the camera.
Crimson Jihad will rain fire on one major American city each week.
Bater Aziz.
The next question is, what happened to Leah's mother and brother? Very simple question. They were killed in the concentration camps by the Nazis. Now, if you're wondering, but wait, why does she write her little diary thing to her Mutti? Which, if any of you know or looked it up, Mutti does mean mother in German. So she is writing to her mother. Does she think that her mother is alive somewhere? No, she does not. It's just one of those things where she's going to write to her mother, imagining like she's still there with her, for guidance and comfort, that sort of thing. She does not think that her mother is still alive somewhere. She knows her mother is gone.
Mother!
Now, this next question is one of my favorite. What does she mean when she says there is still barbed wire between us and the world? Now, I said on there, think figuratively, because some of your answers, you didn't think figuratively. You simply said, well, there is still a fence around her, just like at the concentration camp. And that is not what I wanted you to think about. I want you to think figuratively. Remember, figuratively means that it's not, literally. It's not for real. So, figuratively, what does it mean to have this barbed wire fence between you and the world? Well, some people found some good answers. One of them is, a barbed wire fence is a barrier. So it's like, what other barriers does Leah have here, living in America now? Well, there definitely is a language barrier. Okay, there is a cultural barrier because, Suzy is not Jewish. She doesn't understand, what it's like to be Jewish. Life experience barriers. Her and Suzy just have a hard time connecting because Suzy has not, experienced the life of, living in a concentration camp and all of that. She was, nice and comfortable over in America while all this was happening. The life experience thing, too, goes back to, when she brought the oranges and, the kid tried to just, bite into an orange like an apple, and she laughed at the kid, and Leah did not like that. But, that's one of those cultural sort of life experience barriers where it's like, they've never maybe even seen an orange before, living in a small village in Europe. they never probably had that opportunity to get oranges. Instead of calling it chocolates, they have to call it candy and all of this other type of stuff that's just different. And that's the type of barriers we're talking about. It's not a physical wall that separates the two, people, but it's a figurative wall. That's the type of figurative barriers I was looking for. Now, like I was saying, the next question about what do Suzy's behaviors or reactions to Leah kind of tell you about Suzy? Like I said before, it sort of shows you that Suzy is pretty ignorant to what was happening to Leah and the Jews, during the war. Maybe she just never paid attention or whatever. She just doesn't get it. So I think somebody in their answer said she's kind of privileged, which I kind of like that answer. It's like she is a little bit privileged. She comes from a good family. She has clothes. She has food. She just doesn't understand what Leah's going through again. Okay. And so she's just like, oh, I could think of nothing worse than not being able to speak a language or something, I think is what she said. It's one of those things where it's like, you can't think of anything worse. I could think of a lot worse things than not being able to understand a language, girl. You haven't seen the horrors in the world.
I didn't do it!
And then the next question was on the other side. What do Leah's reactions tell you about her? And primarily what we're looking for here is that she is very proud. She does not, like it says, want to act like an animal going for the food that Suzy brings. She feels like she's being treated like one. She is very untrusting. Can you blame her? She keeps talking about how they're going to turn on her, just like the Nazis did. She doesn't want to take stuff from anybody because she doesn't trust it. It could be poisoned or something. She's very, because of her life experiences, she's very fearful of everybody, and she does not trust anybody. Oopsies, I kind of answered number 6 in that last one there about what do her wartime experiences tell her. How does that shape her life? Like I said, she doesn't trust people. She thinks the Americans are going to turn on her. So then question number 7, why does Suzy give Leah her diary when Leah was in the hospital and everything? Now, some people are like, well, because she read her diary. Well, yes, but why did she do that? Just because I read somebody's diary doesn't mean I automatically have to give up my diary for them. That's not like a rule about reading other people's diary. She does it because she finally, after reading Leah's diary, understands what she went through. Before, she just didn't get it. She just didn't understand what her life was like. But now she does understand what her life is like. And it's almost like a little peace offering. Like, I'm sorry I read your diary. Here, I offer you my diary so that you can read it. Maybe you can understand my situation and what my life is like. And that way now they can start connecting with each other. If they know what it's like to be in each other's shoes, and not these comfortable slipper shoes that I'm wearing, but know what kind of experiences they have, they can understand each other and maybe start becoming friends.
My little pony, my little pony. My little pony. I used to wonder what friendship could be. My little pony.
The next question about do you think the story teaches lessons for today? Again, total opinion question. I would hope that you'd say yes. The point of me giving you this story is that you can understand that just because somebody is acting a certain way towards you, it might not be just because they're being mean or they're a jerk or whatever. There could be other reasons why. And once you get into that other person's head, you can hopefully start realizing, again, what their life is like and stop judging them too quickly about, the way they're acting. Sometimes, people are, having a bad day, and you might just have to come up and smile and say, hey, how's it going? People aren't always just jerks for no reason, usually. And the last question, should you be aware of what's happening? If you talk to Mr. Toft, he would say a big old thumbs up, because it is important to know what's happening around the world, whatever it's happening right now, right? But then there's other countries that still go to war, and we might be in the same situation where maybe we have somebody come in who's a refugee trying to escape their country because of civil war or whatever. And it's kind of important to, again, know, what people are like. So you don't end up being like a Suzy. You don't look at someone like, oh, they're coming over here into our country and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, you have to understand they're running away from something terrible that is happening in their own country. And so it's one of those things where, if you know, then you're not going to be uninformed. Again, Mr. Toft would agree with me on this. You're going to understand what's going on in the world and be more educated for it. Be more sympathetic towards other people's problems. That's all I have for you today, guys. Suzy and Leah is an interesting story. It was written, I don't know if you like the way that it was written. I usually ask people that after we get done reading it. The difference between jumping back and forth between the two girls' diaries. It's a very interesting way for a story to be written. I know a lot of stories now kind of use that format a little bit, like the Diary of a Wimpy Kid, series and everything. Like, they're always written in journal entries, and so maybe you guys are more so familiar with this type of style or whatever that it has, because you've read other books nowadays that are like that. I think it's a good piece. So, all right, thanks for hanging out with me in my dungeon basement again for a little bit. Have a good day. Peace.